Hello, Rachel.
Hello, Ryan. How are you?
Oh, I am doing just fine, but you must be very happy. You must be ecstatic. It's not because we've reached the end of a season of TV that we're talking about, but can you tell every one of our younglings why you must be truly in your element today?
No, I don't know exactly which aspect you're getting at.
Did you not watch the episode that we...
I did, but I think your excitement might be premature.
Wow, why would Rachel be excited? Well, we watched an episode of The Expanse here on Podcast, an episode that was filled to the brim with many, many moments that tickle the fancy of viewers, and perhaps there was something in particular we'll find out could have tickled Rachel's fancy enough for me to think that she would be a very happy girl today. But we are, Ryan and Rachel, a married couple who are going through The Expanse for the first time. We have not seen it before. This is the furthest we have gone through it. We have not read the books. We have not played the games or read any comics. We haven't done anything other than watch these episodes. And for the people listening out there on the main feed, we actually release these episodes somewhere else, don't we, Rachel, first?
Patreon. That's where you get it first. If you head on over there, if you're catching this on the main feed, you'll find a substantial amount of coverage in addition.
Yes, we release these on our Patreon first with a whole slew of other bonus material and content. We've talked about so many other properties and shows and movies and media over there. And we have a wonderful community that you get to be a part of when you join the Patreon, as well as all of the content. And we release this over there first. And what an episode to come in on, huh? This is really quite a game changer, as is the case often when you hit the final moments of a given season.
Yep.
And it is so monumental that it made me think about when we watched Star Trek Discovery's second season finale and how there was a line of dialogue from it. Come on, that was a great transition. Now, there was a line of dialogue in that where a character was asked to take down the main antagonist. It's like in this one where there was so many opportunities to take down Ashford, and yet I did not hear Clarissa Mao, who clearly could have and should have licked her lips, threw her hair back and said yum yum as she did a little gorilla jump over to Ashford. But that is what happened in Star Trek Discovery. A character was asked to take down the season-long villain, and they responded to that idea with a breathy, sexy, over-the-top delivery of saying yum yum, and that line, it left a mark, didn't it, Rachel?
Yeah, one that you will not let me expunge.
It will forever be stained upon us, both as well as the podcast, and we named ourselves after it to honor it, to hold it near and dear, and to never forgive or forget. And now that is out of the way, I am in dire need to hear what is the episode of The Expanse we watched? What's the title of it? And what is the description according to IMDb?
Abaddon's Gate. Holden and his allies try to stop Ashford and his team from destroying the ring. And perhaps all of humanity.
Oh, that's it?
Yep.
Short, sweet, simple, to the point.
One sentence. Not overly complicated on the grammar. We got a comma and a full stop.
No semicolons this time.
Nope.
No ellipses. No just random exclamation marks / points. No, nothing. No
question marks either.
Today, students, we are going to learn about the joys of a special friend I like to call Mr. Semicolon.
The yum yum moment. This is where we take a moment to reflect on the episode and go, what made us feel yum yum? A specific part of yum yum, which is horniness.
When the line of dialogue happened in Discovery, it wasn't just funny and lol random, but it was also, again, innately sexual. And we find that The Expanse teases us with its horniness, and we like to keep track in every episode what minuscule amount of horn dog energy did it have, or what good heaping of it did it deliver to us.
Yeah,
And
it's all or nothing with The Expanse.
it's all or nothing. It's usually pretty recognizable, the pattern, but season 3 really
Flew off the handle.
flew off the handle, shook it all up, and we've been in the aftermath and afterglow of it. Now, this being such a substantial one, this is the title of the book after all, the third book.
Mhm.
You have to wonder, did they cap this off with some horniness? And I have found some. It took a team of scientists, evil ones, as The Expanse likes.
I really hope that next season isn't as dry.
Sexually?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say had more evil scientists, and I agree. Hey, we have a good scientist. The guy on the Thomas Prince is the only good scientist we've ever met in the show, and I won't be counted on that. And I believe him to be good, even though he's played by the young version of the cigarette-smoking man from the X-Files / his son. I forgot about Jeffrey Spender as a character, but I looked it up. But I have a group of scientists that found the answer.
What is it? I want to know what it is.
The Expanse writers, thank you. The Expanse directors, production, everyone, thank you so much for making us look at, in the final days, the final minutes, the final breaths
Holden's
of
bare
it,
chest?
a nude Holden, a semi-nude, implied fully nude Holden. It's very much calling back to when he was touching the thing in the first place and we saw him transported naked. Now we're seeing what he saw in those quick flashes with greater detail, and they know that Stephen Strait is a very appealing figure, physically speaking, and they gave us the goods. They said, hey, we know that we're going to be cancelled probably, and even if we don't, we can try and woo the audience to bring us back by giving them a good beefcake at the end.
Yeah.
The cake is real. Rachel, do you have any moments on the plain variety, or is there an Amos pick that stood out so strongly?
Holden shirtless is the most direct moment. And I think I'm gonna support your decision.
You agree with science?
Yeah.
Yes, that's the power of math, people. Now, Rachel, you have something that is...
Ryan.
I'm testing your faith, perhaps? Now, Rachel,
that's not what I was referring to. But...
Rachel, it's got to be done. It's got to be done. You have to tell us what your automatic Amos pick is. We have a community of people who make bets on it, predictions on what it could be. That's the fun happening over on the Patreon, as well as just fan casting the show for different countries. Like, what's the New Zealand version of this show going to be? Bobby's still the same actress. But what is the moment of Abaddon's gate that Amos had that made you lick your lips, throw your hair back and say yum yum?
I don't have a lot to pick from. He's kind of sweet in this. I'm gonna go with when he grabs Anna
to protect her. Well, she's kind of grabbing him.
They sort of embrace in a kind of way, and just watching his muscles.
Oh, okay. Remember, Rachel, does this take things down a notch for you? You've got to remember that Anna is a gay married woman.
Yeah.
And also, she's a reverend, too. I feel like those things have to be considered. Do they negate or put negative points into the sexy, horny factor of that moment?
I was just watching the muscles.
Rachel?
So I could easily just go when he's setting up the shot and we get the full flex.
I need to know even more so what we thought of this episode. You and I haven't discussed it. We haven't given each other anything deeper than when we were watching it together and just exchanging a word or two about, oh, like that scene happened, or, oh, is this prediction going to come true? But what did you think of this season finale? This is what it was all building up towards.
Solid. Your turn.
I refuse your one-word answer. It's yum yum. Now back to you. There you go.
You gave me 2.
Yeah, I'm building it up. Maybe we'll get to a whole sentence. No, what did you actually think of this?
It was interesting.
No, don't do this. Come on, let's be real talking here.
Why don't you want to play with me?
I am playing with you so much. I am.
You don't want to play on my terms.
Oh, I'm Ashford, you see, and you're drummer, and I'm going to send some nice boys that you love.
The whole universe is changing, and you're trying
to stop it.
You're trying to stop it.
But it's also a blood...
You're fighting the change.
But it's also...
You're being the monkey with the stick.
But Rachel, what the universe is changing into is a blood-soaked gold rush, and that's probably a bad thing. So maybe I'm a hero, and you stop me from saving us all.
Yeah, because killing everybody is much better.
We didn't know if it would. We never got there. You know.
I think we know.
Well, Rachel gave us her thoughts. She thought it was pretty solid. I thought it was pretty liquid. Perhaps one day we'll get to Solidus. Yeah, the middle ground of the Metal Gear Solid characters.
So Holden figures out what?
No,
you said the thoughts were over.
That's it. Thank you all for listening. The episode was very Metal Gear Solid 2. The one with Raiden. The one that we all love. That people actually do love, but come on.
You don't.
It's got Raiden in it.
So is it a yum or a yum yum, Ryan?
Metal Gear Solid 2? I don't know. It's a really tough game to rate because it's got a lot of game innovations and storytelling that's really... No, I'm still thinking... No, it's called Sons of Liberty, actually, but...
No, this episode of The Expanse.
Oh, The Expanse. We're talking about that old shit? Yeah, so here's what I think about Abaddon's Gate. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a grand old time.
But is it yum or yum yum?
Yeah, we'll get there in a moment.
No,
and when
but
I say
you said
a moment,
that the conversation was over.
Oh, yeah, I've got a few thoughts to give, but...
Jesus Christ, you're yanking me about. Come on.
She's the one that feels yanked about. Just remember that. Just remember that she's the one that feels that way. Now, I thought this was pretty good. I liked it overall. I'm happy where the pieces landed, but I did feel that several things were a little too tidy, a little bit too eyebrow-raising. You and I both, when watching it, had several points where we hadn't just exclaimed like a huh? And then we settled into it and went, oh, okay, they're doing it like this. I guess we're skipping those steps to that point. That's fine. And then it would round off at the end in a way where either it was good or we were just left there going,
there was a lot of
trite
to be had.
And it was the nature of the beast. And it's not even that we know that the show was facing a potential cancellation or was already cancelled, and that they're having to adapt a book very quickly. But we have seen this before with a season finale, with The Expanse, and many other shows. It's how it goes that some of the needs are just rushed through because of many different factors, but mainly as well for dramatic sake. Like, it's more dramatic to do it this way. And so I liked this overall, but I do have a few problems with it, as said. Now, do you want to give any more on what you actually got out of Abaddon's Gate? I mean, this is giving us so much to chew into.
Yeah, like, I do have more thoughts, I have more opinions, but they're mostly anchored to stuff that I want to get deeper into.
I've been talking to Holden. He says he knows how to get us out of this mess.
Oh, you're with Holden. Last time I saw you couldn't even walk.
Naomi helped with that.
Nagata is there as well. Well, are you in the brig?
We'll start with Holden gets the answers. He has a chat with Miller.
Who we don't see in
No.
that conversation.
No, we get it from other people's point of view, which is kind of hilarious. And he discovers the station thinks of us as a threat because we detonated that skiff. So it thinks that all of us are bombs.
Because it was a fusion bomb.
So if we shut everything down, we won't be considered a threat.
And it will power down. Because it's in alert and it senses what had just exploded within every single one of the ships because we're all got fusion power.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to shut them down. And that revelation or that notion is the plot of the episode where it will spring from. And it's the inciting thing that every single one of our heroes has to work towards that goal of making the ships shut down so that way the station will lower its... Even Clarissa, yes, even her, because she's overhearing all of this insane chatter with Holden, but she is invested in him, emotionally speaking, and that will come into play, as you said, she steps up. But I like this as a thing that ties everyone together, because the end of the last episode was Ashford bringing everyone together. It was about him forming this community, this banded group under the fear of imminent deaths, and we are going to try and fight back. And now we're twisting that, where Holden needs everyone to come together out of a sense of it's not fear or the acceptance of death or sacrifice. It's about having to find a different solution, a peaceful solution for a change. Maybe we don't need to fight tooth and nail to win. And I like that. That's like a neat thing because it pairs up beautifully with what the last episode was about, where we got to see a solution be made through the antagonist, and it was very successful in that episode. Now we get to see the solution be made by Holden and the gang, and it works beautifully too. And what do you think about this being the thing that motivates everyone?
It tidies everything up. It does have that sense of all of the pieces are in place and now they're going to click in.
There's a message too that is very blatant of we must power down our nukes, right? Our fusion bombs, our weapons. We must put down our stuff, which is
we have to accept and resign ourselves that we aren't the ones in control and violence is not the solution, which we've seen over and over again is not natural for humanity.
Although there is a lot happening in this episode, it's relatively simple. They keep it simple, stupid. You aren't confused at what's happening. Now, there's stuff that they leave unanswered and mysteries and things that they're teasing for the future, but how beautiful is it that this is one where it's action-packed. There's so many different threads. We're bringing back characters to help save the day, and yet it still feels relatively light and easy.
Because there's not a lot of stuff to explain. It's just the floodgates are open and we're along for the ride.
Holden is brought out to play. He's brought out to be the main hero of the show again. Alex references this later on in the episode when Bobby says that the Holden that came out may not have been the same one that went in, and he just rebuffs that by saying, well, he's out there trying to save the day and he's willing to sacrifice himself. It's the same old Holden I know. And I had a smile and I nodded and went, yeah. No,
Thanks for that, Alex.
That's perfectly correct on that. Yeah, that's a good one. And, well, with Holden's release, what does that mean? What does that mean for them? Certain people...
They're on the run.
They're on the run from...
Ashford.
Because he doesn't like that.
No, he has a plan, and they don't agree with the plan. So he sends Diogo after them.
He doesn't like that Drummer is out, about walking, commanding, making orders. It's not her station anymore. It's not her ship anymore.
She's a threat to his authority.
And he does the obvious talking through his teeth, being polite. Oh, let's meet up and have a conversation. We shall work this out.
Come on.
Face to face. Drummer knows it's bullshit. He knows it's bullshit. Everyone's aware that it's bullshit. And the plot happens, right? Where Ashford turns around, gets his boys to be a hit squad, take her out, bring her to me, I don't care, get the situation sorted, and Drummer and Holden and Naomi and one other guy that is cool and then he gets brutally murdered, agree, fuck it, we've got to go, we've got to run, let's get out of here, let's organize our team, because that's what this episode really has going for it is we have to recruit all these different members of the show to help bring about our victory when it comes to powering down these ships. And Ashford is the bad guy, where he's in charge and he's going to send his goons and he's going to send the different factions of goons like Bobby and Diogo and so on to take down Holden, because Ashford believes he's right in what he's doing. He thinks his way is the correct way. And even when given facts, he won't back down because it's got to be done.
He uses the logic of a parent.
Yes, he does. He talks about that a lot, about the idea of being a parent makes you understand that you have to leave a better world behind for those after you. And Naomi understands, and Drummer understands, and Holden understands that that means nothing if you are the one that sets off the weapon that destroys everything, Ashford. All you're losing is your pride, your ego, and your leadership if you listen to us. But if you don't listen to us, you'll lose everything that you are here to fight for. But arrogance, right? Hubris. And that means Naomi and the gang have to head into whatever part of the ship it is that they have to go to. You know, the part where it's like we shut down the power, we help shut things down.
The core?
The core. Sure, it's the core. And, well, walk us through that, Rachel. It must be easy peasy, lemon squeezy that they just go in there and start pressing buttons.
Yeah, they get there fairly easily. It's getting out that's more the problem. So they get weapons, they head down there, they meet up with somebody that Naomi trusts, that Drummer trusts, and they blow up the elevator, and then they get in there and they start the process.
And then they discover what Ashford's plan is. They discover he's trying to power up a big laser and that he's just going to make the deadline of this event-wide, galaxy-wide event just more apparent.
Yes.
And there's a lot of exchanges in between of that, of her and Drummer and Holden are united again. Like, Drummer is this important person to Naomi, as is Holden. And as people who have been...
I love that conversation that Holden has with Drummer. She's just like, I don't give a shit about you. I give a shit about her. Fuck off.
It's true. I was going to ask, how do you feel about how this episode handled the relationship dynamics of Naomi and the two people that have been important in her life this season?
It's interesting. It reads a little like Drummer's in love with her and she knows that it's unrequited, so she's just like, fuck it, I'll die for her.
Is that a good thing?
No, it's not.
But Rachel, Holden's here now.
Holden is here. and he says, I love you to Naomi.
Yeah, he says that in the
And
episode.
I don't give a fucking shit.
Well, she didn't say I love you back, did she? I can't recall. If she did, I was too busy falling asleep because their romance
Their romance has nothing. Like, no sparks for me whatsoever.
It says interesting.
So, like, that makes it more annoying that it's, like, sort of an unrequited love feeling to Naomi and Drummer. Because I like them better together, and we've said that before.
These cowards. These fucking cowards. Let them date. Let them kiss. Let them have a relationship.
No, but they've already decided that, like, they say it in this episode.
Yeah.
Holden's just like, you and me till the end, right?
He actually, this was amazing. You said it exactly how it went down, but you forgot the detail, which is he looked directly into the camera and said, Ryan and Rachel, this is endgame. This is an endgame relationship. Nothing will intrude upon this any further. And then he went back to talking to Naomi and Drummer, and they gave a little side eye to us, the audience, like, oh, that was weird. And then they went back to the narrative at hand. And yeah, I kind of just found it a little bit fun that Naomi is just, you know me, I'm the engineer, I know how to do stuff. I don't need a gun, I don't need weapons, I can just bleep and bloop buttons to save the day. And that just gets further and further proven true as we get along in the episode in very humorous ways, because Ashford sends the smartest guy on the ship to go take care of these people.
He's in charge of security.
The best character. Your favorite character.
Fuckface.
You keep going. I can handle Diogo Herrera.
No, you can't.
Give me the grenades. I'm sorry I tried to kill you.
There's no need.
Tell Naomi I said that.
You love Diogo. Now, Rachel, you have had a lot of built-up feelings.
I didn't see a body. I didn't see a body. That armor can do a fucking lot. I want him to be dead. I want a confirmed kill on that ratty fucker.
Rachel, you feel so much for this young man. He's barely even done anything in the show to earn such vitriol. So how about you rewind a bit and walk us through everything that happens with Diogo and Drummer and all of that, and your feelings towards it a bit more so, because yes, that's what I was alluding to at the start. I thought, Rachel's going to be very happy, very excited that this character that she has had an irrational hatred of throughout the entire series.
He's a dipshit in a too familiar way. We get the discovery that somebody has taken the Martian suits. Bobby's suit is gone. She's just like, well, do it with guns. So they go off to chase down the people who were broadcasting, and then it shoots straight over to Diogo running up the ship.
Oh, don't you skip over your dream. I said to you, I knew immediately. I said to you, who do you think has the power suit? Cuts to the guy running in the suit, and who did you think it was, Rachel? Who did you think?
I wanted it to be Amos.
No.
I knew that it wasn't going to be Amos, but...
So your favorite character in the entire series, one that is all too familiar to you as a teacher. Is that where this all comes from, Rachel? That he's too much of a teenage boy, but now he's been given a power suit to fuck shit up real good?
Yeah.
Well, he's given a power suit, Rachel, so you must have been absolutely fist pumping. You're like, yes, yes, yes. This guy.
Die.
I love how much you loathe this guy. He's like your Havelock. Like, I know you hated Havelock too, but I think I have more of a vitriol.
You do.
Because he was useless.
Like, as the further we get away from it, the more you hate it.
Season 1 is officially dead to me because he hasn't come back and he never will. And that season gets more and more withered and it is getting transparent. It's going to fade and completely disappear because of Havelock's weird absence and his weird inclusion in the first place. But they are along the elevator shaft and they don't have gravity. They're just zooting up. They're just floating up. They're just flying up. Holden and Drummer and Naomi, and they're shooting their little pistols, their little guns, and it isn't working because these power suits, they're strong. We've seen how strong they are. It has to take a hybrid to rip these things apart. Not just any old weapon can do it. Not any easy old weapon that these guys have just on hand. But Holden very noticeably grabbed a belt of grenades.
Yeah, he went back for him. And then they're escaping up, and Drummer's like, okay, I'm going to sacrifice myself now.
Because she's a woman of her word.
Yep. You go up with Naomi. I'm going to stay down here. And she's waiting for the right moment to throw the grenades. She's waiting for Diogo to get there. Right there so that they both die.
That's the plan. And it's her following through.
Naomi is just like, boop, and crushes him with an elevator.
We don't see her do the boop of the button. We just see from Drummer's point of view, primarily, of her. She decides to push herself back and stand because also, like, she's physically fucked up from being punched in the face and her spine's still all messed up, and so she's leaning against the wall and she's ready to detonate these explosives, these grenades, to take them both out. And it's great because it's her following through on what she said just a moment earlier to Ashford, because Ashford tries to compel her to join his side by using the rationale of, you're a natural belter. You know what it's like to sacrifice, to give yourself. You are willing to sacrifice yourself to help me. Now, let's keep doing that. And she says, I'm still willing to do that. And she shuts off the message. And this is her doing that. Now, there is a more personal stake to it. As you said, it isn't just she's there to sacrifice herself to prove that belter point and to help save the day in that big sense. But her and Holden have that conversation of, hey, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. And I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for her. Now, make sure that all of this is communicated across to Naomi that, I didn't want you to die. I'm not going to kill you and whatnot. And I'm going to kill this guy. And that adds so much more to the potential sacrifice. Now, did you think Drummer was actually going to die?
I was like tossing up because in the terms of structure, they have Bobby bleeding out and Drummer about to kamikaze it.
And don't forget, Clarissa is up at CNC being like, hey, I'm being nice now.
Yeah. A bit like we have two characters that we know and we like that are in imminent danger of death. And Grey's Anatomy has trained me to be like, well, at least one of them's going to die. And I was just like, I feel like it's going to be Drummer. But maybe because I think it's going to be Drummer, it'll be Bobby.
It was neither, so you were wrong. So take that. It was actually Diogo that died in this episode. He was the one, or at least it's meant to be believed that way. You want to see his corpse. I know, but I don't...
Or a funeral. Something. I want that closure, God damn it. We assume that he died in the vacuum of space, and he didn't. He's a cockroach, Ryan.
He is lucky. He's unnaturally lucky, is what we have seen before. Now, here's a thing.
He's an unflushable.
He's an unflushable, yes. He's a poo that you just can't flush down. He always keeps bobbing back up no matter how much toilet paper you put in there. Now, this is something I don't know exactly how to have a conversation about, but does it lessen Drummer or does it bolden her more? Does it deepen her character that one of the motivating factors is this unrequited love that she has for Naomi, or at least that's how we read it. That's another thing too. Like, do you think that is in part on the show, or it's just these
I don't
actors have
know.
too much chemistry with
They
one
have
another?
yeah, like the cause doesn't matter as much to me as the effect. And if it's not text at all, it's not subtext, and I'm bringing it to it, I still like it, damn it.
Do you think that it is just these two actresses are just on-screen chemistry? Because we do know in several TV shows, I think there's like even a like one of the Law and Orders where it's like the idea that the actors, the performers themselves are playing a certain thing that isn't in the script, or they are just something about what we view them on in the scenes brings out something that they themselves aren't aware of. And
Yeah.
what are your opinions on that? Like, do you think that the show is like on purposely making it that Drummer is attracted, has romantic feelings? Because we have heard them say that they love each other, but it hasn't been in the romantic sense per se.
No, it hasn't. And I think it's spiraled. So I think it does come from the chemistry and it's evolved out. I don't think it was a conscious choice, but I think a part of that is me not wanting the show / books to be playing in with lesbian stereotypes.
In what sense, though?
The unrequited love, the like...
I'm the butch lady,
yeah,
you don't mess with
butch
me.
femme dynamics, and that more mask-appearing individuals.
I just want them to actually be in a relationship. That's the biggest thing. Like, actually do it. Look, I think that they are on purposely teasing this and playing with this and making it like the way that the camera lingers.
Teen Wolf style.
I don't know if I would say queer baiting, but what I'm saying is I think it is very deliberate that they are having this reaction from Drummer and that the camera will stay on her in this way and that the actress is reacting in the ways that she is to the other one. And I think it is on purpose. I think they are aware that Drummer and Naomi as characters, as well as the two performers that have been hired to play them, are so suitable for one another. I get a little bit frustrated because I actually want to see that. I actually want to see them have that more so rather than what we have had, where, again, it is a little bit of a tease. It's the tease. And then when we have to cut back to her, Drummer's doing this. Like, Drummer was willing to sacrifice herself so that the two most boring people can have a relationship together. Like, Naomi's boring when she's with Holden. Like, every time she was running around with Holden in this episode, I just was snoozing. I just find, but when she's with Drummer, I'm like, you're an interesting character. Like, you have sparks. Like, but when you're in this romantic mood with Holden, like this romantic mold that you have to be in, it's just so familiar, so just blah. And the idea of Drummer, I'm going to explode myself so that so that the most vanilla couple in the show can make it, really tires me. Like, it tired me out. But thankfully it didn't go that way. She lived. I actually was thinking that she was going to die here. I was like, oh, okay, she's going to die here and take out Diogo. But no, he just gets taken out like a cartoon. Did you appreciate that the way he was taken care of in this episode was treated as a joke because he's a joke?
Yes, I did. I liked it.
I know that you do not like the character of Diogo, but I do want to discuss him just a bit because I get the feeling he is dead and this is the end of the road for him. Can we at least talk about the character overall and like...
fine.
Like, why did they do him? Like, why did they have him? Because he does so little, like, relatively speaking. And yet there are characters that have maybe the same amount of episodes or even less episodes that I feel have had a larger mark. I always feel like Diogo was such an afterthought of a character. I actually really like the concept, and I liked the performer. I like this idea of this arrogant teenager who finds himself to be a very important member of a terrorist group, but he doesn't have those more like moral ideals or dreams or whatever of the higher ups that he's serving for. He's just a prideful thug that has found himself there. I like that as an idea, but I don't know. I didn't think they really did much with him. Like, you were getting annoyed at him for the episodes he was in the back half of season 3, but what was he doing? He was just standing there and he would say like one or two lines.
An incompetent, irrational, fanatic fool.
Yeah, but do you think they put that across well or not?
Not particularly. Like, he's just there. And it feels like when you say the stuff that Diogo has to do, it sounds interesting. It sounds compelling. And in the show, it's just not, because the show doesn't seem to care about it. They're like, we need him here because he does these things, but we don't really want him around. So minimum it is. Minimum.
The series can be very, I don't want to say sloppy, but I'll say strange in how it maneuvers characters from time to time. We were very much put off that Diogo was left in space on his own with no way to have survived, only to then suddenly reappear and then tell us off screen things that happen. And it's like, maybe we should have seen those things. And then teaming him up with Miller was actually very good. It's like, okay, now he's got something to him because he's an opposite to someone, and he brings out certain qualities in a character, and he has qualities within him that are brought out. But then we don't see him again for a very long time. Like, he fucks shit up for the Tycho station by teaming up with Anderson Dawes and giving over the mad scientist. But then they just wash their hands of this character to then just bring him back here because we need a familiar face. Now he's got a face tattoo, and then he just kind of stands around. And like you said, has like this arrogant energy, but I don't know, there's just something about how they do characters, even ones I like with Prax. He's just gone. They just say, well, he's gone. And it's like, oh.
He's done now.
Oh, okay. Like, as a fan of the show, there are times where they just do certain things with characters where it comes across like they've cut corners. And that isn't, and that doesn't even come from this sense of that they're speeding through things. It's sometimes it comes, especially with Diogo. I think you can agree with me with this on Diogo. It comes across like they don't think they need to put in that much legwork because we, the audience, will get it. And I think this is a case where I can see the validity of that argument, but I actually would have liked to have seen a little bit more legwork with this character, because he dies as a joke, because isn't the character just a joke?
Yes, he is.
And is that good enough? Like, the character's just a joke, so we can just end him like a joke. I mean, that's all right. Like, that can be all right.
It can be all right, but it's similar in a way to the Havelock stuff of like, it's like, well, that was fucking useless. And the more it goes on, the more fucking useless it's gonna feel.
I look at it more as similar-esque, but not fully to the Mormons, where it's like, oh, you had fertile ground for something. There are like examples of when they pick the fruit there, but then they just let the crop die. And that's how I feel with Diogo, where I actually liked a lot more of Diogo than you did, clearly. But at the end of the day, I just have to go, when I rewatch this, I'm just going to find Diogo such a nothing, just such a blip, and then all I'll get is, he died funny, and that's it. And maybe that's all his point is, like, he just died funny, that's it. Like, you know, you have villains like that, where it's just like, they're a dipshit, and they just die like a dipshit, and that's all you need of it, but they just, emphasized him so much at random points to then not really have much to say with him. Like, what do you say? Like, what is the point of him? Like, what's the theme or message or anything that this character offers up in his inclusion? Because you can say that about even minor ones, like the scientist on the Thomas Prince. I could say stuff about, like, what's Diogo? There too.
He's a fuckwit and a fuck up.
Now I know why you don't need to carry a gun.
Oh, that's a pretty good trick. Are you okay?
Hey, I'll live.
Amos refuses to apologize. And it's funny. It's funny because, like, you know, they're having this huge issue that could bring about the end of humanity. And he's just like, well, I'm not going to say I'm sorry because I don't mean it.
What's he not sorry about exactly?
Sorry, I got distracted by the Amos of it all. So we have this situation and they need to get the message out to all of the ships that are in the ring to shut down their fusion reactors so that the station doesn't see them as a threat. And Holden tells Alex and Amos that they need to find the reporter and get her to broadcast this message. And Amos picks up Anna and says, "You've got to come with me."
I don't even remember if they said get the reporter. I think it was just you'll figure out a way. Like, you'll figure it out, and they do figure it out. They first go to Amos first grabs Anna.
Yep. And then they go find the reporter and she's pissed. She's pissed and she's just like, yeah. He died.
Who died?
Cameraman.
Cohen, yeah. He got cut in half because of the sudden shift in the speed and the door, and he just got cut in half. And that's your fault, Amos, because you put us there. It's your fault. She tries to moralize a guy who doesn't give a fuck about those things in the first place. And, man, this is a great episode for Amos, huh?
Yep.
Because...
not sexy, but great.
It's a great episode because he gets to be his usual self, but with supremely different characters. Like, when he is doing this to Monica, he overpowers her because he's so strong of will, he's so intimidating, he's so matter-of-fact. He is an immovable object, and Monica has to succumb to that. She just is like, well, fuck it, I guess.
No, but it's Anna's part.
No,
it's Anna's part. Because he's just like, we need you, we gotta do this. And then Anna actually explains what's going on, and she's just like, you should have just said that.
Well, that's what I mean of, then you have his relationship and dynamic with Anna, and him bringing in Anna is what helps save the day.
It's great when Amos has a translator.
Oh, of course, when he has a defender. When he has someone who is willing to give him a chance that others would not. And he first grabbed Anna, and I said, oh, yeah, that's a smart idea because Anna's so awesome and nice, and she's such a good, she's such a good speaker, and she's the minister, and she's someone people can trust. And then you said that a great reason to grab her is for what, Rachel?
She's a speechwriter.
She knows how to write speeches.
She knows how to communicate to an audience and to convince them of something that they don't want to do.
It was her fucking job. This was her job. This was her purpose. Remember when she was wondering if she had strayed away from her purpose as a minister? Well, guess what?
Where it was a false dichotomy for her to choose between being a minister and being a scientist and being a nurse. Like, she's all of those things.
And this brings it all together with what she used to be as well, which was, as you said, a speechwriter. Now, she is tasked with being the face of the broadcast, and she utilizes all of those skills.
And
She
they
understands the
set her
technicals of
up.
it. She understands the medical side of it. She understands like how to communicate because of
she
her
took-
previous career and
she
her
helped
current
take
one.
down Aaron Wright.
That comes up, yeah. And so she's a face and a voice that people can rely on and trust, but not just that. Because of her circumstances in life, because of her career path, because of her values, she is perfectly equipped for this moment. Hence, it really resonates with her journey in the back half of the season where she's wondering what her purpose is. Like, how can she be the best version? How can she help? What
does she have to offer? And it turns out everything.
What is it that she can offer that isn't a selfish act instead? Because that's one of the things that she has been really just soaking in since that incident and since she's had to leave her family behind. She knows that what she's doing is a selfish act, but it thrills her, it chills her, and she likes it. But now she's turned a bit sour on it, and this really brings it to like
And what
a
she says
nice
implies that she
endpoint.
didn't send that message.
Yeah, she didn't get to communicate herself. She didn't get to explain, and she's going to have unfinished business left. And
Amos's explanation of like unfinished business is what dying is.
Isn't it? Wouldn't you say like when you die, there's always going to be unfinished business. There's always going to be things that are left on the table. And that's what's really great about Amos as a character is although on the surface or just sometimes he will hit you with certain things that he throws your way, you can be offset by, he has such a quote-unquote simplistic view on things. But then he will express himself, articulate himself more, or moments like this in which he says something with such assuredness that you can't help but feel that this is a person with a profound view on the world. That when you team him up with Anna, someone whose, again, life is about trying to find the way to articulate these things as well, it makes them a beautiful pairing to have in scenes. And one is an empath. Like, that is what you would describe Anna at the best of times. She's someone who is very much one to lean on empathy and or sympathy, while Amos, that is something he lacks. So to have these two talking to one another is just pure gold.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, has Amos had a bad partner to pair up against when it comes to, like, is he a character that's just, like, from this series standpoint, the best one because he can bounce off of any other character and he'll always have a certain dynamic that he doesn't repeat with other ones. Like, his relationship with Alex is different to how it is with Prax, and his relationship with Prax is different to how it is with Anna, and so on. And yet all of those people bring out a more positive side to Amos.
Yeah.
Anna and Amos, in the thick of it, when things are getting set up, when they know that their lives could meet their end, have a conversation. And that's what I love about this episode is they have the time to have conversations.
Yeah,
they have the time.
All action.
I was taking note of that because there was a lot of run and gun scenes.
It really surprised me when they paused with Clarissa and Ashford.
They have pairings that you wouldn't expect to pause with, but Anna and Amos are a great one to do it with, and we like them. And the disagreements, or Anna teaching Amos to look at things in a different way, because although she may not see it his way, she's not going to just dismiss him like a child and treat him lesser than, because
that's not the minister approach. That would be a priest approach.
Sure. Take that, priests. But I really loved the back and forth about how, now I'm going to kill those people. You're just going to have to take that as is, because it, as Anna says, it has to be done, right?
Yeah.
because that's how she views the world, that's how he views the world, but drastically different approaches to that very idea. It has to be done. And that statement, wouldn't you say, is one of the big forces behind every character? It has to be done. Like, everyone feels like it has to be done.
Everybody feels like they are justified in their approach. Holden believes what he's doing is right. Ashford believes what he is doing is right. And everybody has their own point of view and their reasons for those.
And Anna is so overcome with emotion because she is awake. She realizes that that's the human condition that we need to work on. Yeah. That we need to take that moment to understand that the other person genuinely would believe that they are in the right, that they're doing good.
We need to unburden humanity of hatred.
That is it. We need to unburden the hatred because it does us no favors. It does not support us. All it does is harm us. And I really love, again, Elizabeth Mitchell is such a great performer, but the fact that she's so overcome with emotion at this revelation that she is aware of, and that she's trying to, again, vocalize this to people, vocalize this to someone, and to actually say the words out loud, to actually talk about it can be so powerful. And it's obvious stuff, but it's
her as well. Like, that conversation is for Anna as well.
Of course it is. And perhaps if she can help find salvation for this one man here who seems like, in many other people's eyes, irredeemable, perhaps she can find it within herself, because she feels bad about having left her family behind. And if she does not at least do something worth it, then it would have been a bad act.
Links to Clarissa and her conversation with Ashford, where she straight up asks, like, do you think one good act at the end of somebody's life can redeem them? And he's just like, yeah.
Well, he says, I would hope so.
Yeah, I hope so.
And you don't even need to clarify it with at the end of your life. It's that thing of, can a good act redeem you?
Yeah.
Can it help justify the horrors that you've had to do? And the horrors we've seen
Anna does a really big good, like, her broadcast convinces everybody, except Ashford, to shut down their cause.
I told you to shut down that transmission.
No can do, boss man. They must be hooked directly into substation.
I mute the feed. Is what she's saying true? You'll have time to debate. If there's a chance, I say we try.
She keeps saying about how it needs to be done. And it makes me think back to that big debate that we've seen in this season about fate and free will. And here we are again. We see all of the characters act out on what they think needs to be done, and it's up to Holden at the end to say, stop, make a choice. Actually make a choice.
Yeah.
Don't just act out on what you feel.
And Bobby does that as well.
Because Bobby is following orders.
Yep. She's sent down with the same crew that she's been with this whole time to take out whoever's doing the broadcast. And she doesn't know that it's Alex and Amos. But she quickly finds out. And the two doofuses try and kill her friends, and it doesn't work out.
And kill her eventually, too.
Yeah.
And Bobby, as we have seen, be her character thing, she must choose a side, the right side. She must actually remove the shackles of being a soldier, marine, and follow her heart, follow
She's
her
with the
compass.
Rossi at the end.
And
she's given up on being a marine.
Again.
Finally.
Again.
Finally.
Again, we follow this. This is her journey again.
I think it's done. I think she's not going to be a Martian Marine again.
I don't want to beat a dead horse, but Bobby's repeated journey here is far less satisfying than the one that I found not that satisfying last season.
Yeah, like it was mediocre the first time.
And, like, really do not want to strain the point too much, but it goes back to what I say about how there is such a peculiar way that this series stirs the pot of characters. Because with Bobby, look, we had problems with season 2, but we came to a point where it's like, yeah, now we're good with her. And then they just threw her away and said, now we bring her back just to do it again, but real quick and less convincingly, honestly. But I'm happy that she's back with the crew. I'm happy that she's thrown in the towel of being a Marine and following the orders and trying to kill her friends.
Overcome that kind of indoctrination.
I guess, but I felt like from a narrative way, they didn't either follow through on what you just said there, or they already kind of, I don't know. Again, I felt very like this was very weirdly handled. It's just,
it was.
I get what they're getting at, but also I don't care about it. And so
no.
Bobby
I do care
back.
about Ashford going a bit batty though.
Because last episode we were praising about how when under the strain of command and being in a crisis situation, he stepped up to the plate and made the right calls.
Mm-hmm.
That was clear to make it so that we could enjoy when he starts to falter. Yes, that made it so that we could enjoy when he starts to falter and crumble and contradict himself, and the contradictions no longer can be held behind charm or good luck or things just working out his way. We see in this episode, he makes the wrong moves. He says the wrong things. He does the wrong, he just keeps fucking it up.
He's cocky. He's cocky and overconfident.
And afraid.
He's assuming that everybody will bend to his will. Because he is the captain. He is in charge. And
he's
Amos
right.
reminds you of his mentality when he says he's a pirate.
Mm-hmm. And Amos wants to kill this guy, a guy he's never met before, but he knows that he needs to die because he's sending people to kill us, and we're the good guys. And although that's a very blunt approach to it, it's one that you can't help but side with as well, because we are looking at this as television, as a story. There's good guys and bad guys, and Ashford, yes, may think of himself as a good guy, but even during the course of events, he sees he's a bad guy, and what he does is double down.
He turns away from himself.
Because he's afraid.
Yep.
It's not just cockiness and self-assuredness or believing that he is the center of the universe. It's because he's afraid, and when people are afraid, they dig their claws in.
They do. And they don't see the danger that's coming for them or that they're creating. He doesn't see the problems with what he's doing with committing to turning the communication ray into a weapon. He doesn't see the danger in that, the head tech. He doesn't see the danger in Clarissa on the fucking bridge.
Of course.
To the point where he removes her chemical restraint.
Yeah, which was obviously going to be his downfall. It's as clear as the nose on his face, but he is so blind to it all because he's acting...
He's just tunnel vision.
Again, he lost the great amount of command that he had in the last episode where shit was getting thrown at him that could easily overwhelm you. He was handling it. But now there's a chink in the armor, which is Drummer is out there, and she's going to take back her job, and it rattles him, and you keep seeing him make the wrong choices over and over again, where it just builds up, where he makes the most obvious mistakes possible, and he has no one else to blame but himself. And I have to praise yet again that they turned the Mormon ship into this warship, right? And this was a ship of a spiritual nature originally. This was a generation ship. This was a ship of hope and peace and love and all of that. And they mock that. They're like, oh, these stupid Mormons thinking that they could just run away from the problems. And then they turned it into a warship. Now we here at the end see that there was a peaceful solution to things, which is He initially was going to use the communication beam, strengthen it, and send a message out there to warn the others not to come in. That would have been enough. And then figure out what to do, listen to Holden. But instead, he turns the peaceful solution into a literal weapon, again, like with the ship itself.
Yes.
He turns it into a weapon because that's what he knows.
Yes, violence is what he knows.
It solves things. It makes things better. Even if it makes things worse, eventually it'll make things better because it's final. It's a very final way of solving a problem. If you kill them, then it's done. Just like how Amos thinks of it. I have to kill that guy because then it will be over. It will be done. People like him need to be stopped, and the way to stop them is to shoot them in the head rather than thinking what Anna thinks. Hence, when Anna says that, there's something there, not just for Amos, but for the rest of the episode, for us to tune in on and think about, because it wouldn't have been satisfying in this episode if they just walked on the ship and shot Ashford in the face.
No.
They could have.
Yes.
But they don't. Like, that would be the Star Trek Discovery approach, where you spend episodes, even the episode you're in, talking about peace and love and kumbaya, and that we need to find other ways, and that you have to self-sacrifice, and all of this stuff that we have just gone through. And then they would just still shoot the villain in the face because they're a bad guy and you need to take him down. No. They don't do that with Ashford yet. They don't do that here.
I will counter you. Star Trek Discovery starts with that. Think about the Klingon that
they murder.
Michael kills.
Yeah.
It doesn't even take that long for Discovery to do shit like that. It's
of course.
Straight up the first thing that they did.
But again, in that episode's defense, that was the point of it. While again, in other things, they make this mistake. While the Expanse isn't making that mistake.
Do you think a truly good act at the end of your life can make up for the terrible things you've done?
I would like to believe that is true.
Yeah.
At least I hope it is.
We have Clarissa Mao. She's here, and you said last episode your big prediction was she would be noble and do a self-sacrifice and save the day and be redeemed in her final moments. Now, you were 99% correct. I'm going to give you that high of a percentage on this.
A lot of it did hinge on her dying, and she's alive. So,
but your overall point very much still stands.
Yes, yeah.
She didn't die, which I was shocked at too. I'm like, oh.
I was shocked that they didn't kill. Nope. Like, Diogo is the only one that probably died that we kind of care about.
Correct. Everyone else.
Ashford lives.
Ashford
Clarissa
lives.
just knocks him out for like under a minute.
He's back up real quick. And he got like fucking gorilla slammed on that console, and he's not a young guy.
Nope.
He's also just been recently crushed with a lung problem, but he seems fine.
And he donated blood not too long ago either.
And he's got belter bones, which, a little bit less strong than normal bones. But hey, he's just he's got a bit of armor on that guy, like a bit of plotty armor. He's a fucking tank, apparently. That little rake of a man, he's a tank, apparently. But
he's a cockroach. He keeps on living.
With Clarissa, are you satisfied with what they have done with her?
Yeah. I like her arc. It's very obvious, but it was mostly enjoyable, and it feels like it's over, but she will come back as an ally. That's my theory.
Her conversation with Ashford was beautifully done. I like the rapport that those two performers have.
Oh, we have time for this. Okay. I like this, but it doesn't feel like you should have time for this.
Can you do a good act before you die and redeem all of the horrible things you did before? Do you believe that is true? Do you think that can be the case, not just in the real world, but in this show's point of view? Do you think that is the case?
In the show's point of view, definitely. I feel this show doesn't do the sort of, you have a ledger and you have good and bad And then you want more points in the good column at the end. And if you manage that, then you've done a good life. Good job, you go to the good place. It's more about each decision that you make as you make it. Because you can't go back and change the past, but you can make a better choice now than you would have before.
I understand. I do disagree with it in the sense of I believe that this series says the thing that Clarissa wants is not good enough. It's good, but it's not good enough because she does live in the end. And Anna sits beside her and they teary-eyed. Clarissa has tears on her face, but through no words, just the physicality there, it has this indication of
everything.
It has this indication of Anna is willing to forgive this person and Clarissa is willing to start the journey of atonement. But that's the thing. It's a start. It's not the end.
No.
And I think about so many times over, and I have to relate it to Miller because Miller's a great example of a character that did sacrifice himself for a greater good. But his whole entire season 1 arc and his journey through season 2 was about taking many acts of good, many acts of actually giving a shit and stepping up as a hero so that when he did, in the end, step up and say, I'm going to die to save everyone. And not even that, he was just doing it because he wanted to be with Julie. It wasn't just a case of, well, self-sacrifice redeems a character for all of their faults beforehand. I think this series is expressly saying you have to do more than that. It makes me think of also like Erin Wright with the conversation with Avasarala in which she says, this is your step. These are the steps you're going to take to atone. I think that this series is very much in the camp of...
No single act is going to redeem you. Yeah.
I think it's a case of that's good and all, but it's not enough. And I also, because Ashford, who's the antagonist of the show, hopes that what she says is true, means in my eyes that the show probably doesn't agree because he's
like he's a little bit right, but he's not on the money.
That's it. That's how I look at it, and that's why since she does live, that means hopefully with what I've said, and I hope that I don't sound like I'm just a bag of wind here with this, and people are listening are being like, no, that's not what the show's saying about this stuff. This is my point of view on it, and I think because of that, Clarissa living actually has more of a point to that, because if she did die in that moment,
if she touched that live wire that she was warned about, and when she's doing the stuff to shut down the behemoth because it's the last one.
Yes, it is. If she did self-sacrifice in that moment, there would have been on the surface the level of thinking that this character did do good in the end, but on the whole, it would have been a hollow feeling, I think. I think if she did die here, I would have had a conversation like I did with Diogo. It's like, I see on paper like what they're doing with this character, but it doesn't ring true in the end.
Yeah.
But she's alive.
Uh-huh.
She makes it. And we're going to have to, in our next discussion, when we do the recap on the season and look forward to what's ahead, have a bigger conversation about like what is she going to offer up to the show, because she's on the Rocinante, I'm pretty sure, right? Like that's where she's at. Her and Anna
in the med bay, I think.
At least it looks like that's set. I'm so used to those chairs when she has the implant thing back in by the looks of it, or like they have the chemical restraint. Yeah, the chemical restraint. They have the thing on her arm again, but then we have the big thing. Like, what is the thing that happens in response to these ships all powering down?
So the station now recognizes that they're not a threat. So it opens up more gates. And there are a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of worlds,
A lot of systems to
a
explore.
lot of systems to explore, and we get this explained to us through a voiceover of Holden talking to Miller.
Realizing Miller has used him.
Set them up because Miller wanted the doors open or the gates.
The rings.
Yep.
And this does not bring humanity together. This does not
solve the problems.
This does not offer up the illusion that could have been that we had inside of the ring space where, we are met with this gargantuan thing, we all band together to solve the problem. That could have been, but look what we saw in this episode. It was still people tearing each other apart. And so Holden's point of view is, great, now we have this ability to tear each other apart all over again in a bigger, meaner, more mysterious way.
Gold rush. You already said it.
A blood-soaked gold rush, because everyone's going to be hungry for this opportunity.
I don't think there's any gold rush that wasn't bloody, but...
And that was Ashford's point too. We need to destroy this ring because they won't be able to help themselves.
We won't be able to stop. We can't stop exploring. Curiosity will be the death of us.
We can't stop exploring, but we also can't stop one-upping each other. We can't stop being a monkey with a stick and beating another monkey to death with it. It's very much in line with everything we have seen, and I think this is probably my favorite, not just conclusion to a season, but the use of the grand sci-fi thing to elevate a point that the series is making.
And it's presented and directed and edited in a way that is so familiar.
And it resets the board. It makes it so that we understand what this show can look like going forward, or many avenues to go down, just like how there's so many rings open. Because when you start the show, you think, it's a Cold War situation. Mars and Earth are going to duke it out, and then the Belt's going to be in trouble. And we felt like, we understand. But then they keep changing it up. They keep changing it up, keep just moving the pieces around and making a new game. And this is the new game that they're playing. But Holden has his finger on the pulse of things, because he's having flashbacks to what he actually saw when he was flashing through things. Like, he's on the beach of this planet looking up, and there's a big ring in the sky, and then you see there's several in the sky, and there's his good friend Miller just floating on the water, acting all strange. But what is great is he has this big speech about it's going to be this blood-soaked gold rush, and we're going to be at each other's throats, and it's going to tear us all apart. That's all there, but what he's focusing in on is you, Miller, whatever you are, wanted this.
What do you get out of this? Because it wasn't to help us.
No.
What are your motivations?
You lied.
He didn't stop to consider that, because Miller was helping them survive.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's just like, okay, you get to go now. And now it's like, no, that's suspicious.
You used me to open up all of these gates to a civilization that is dead. And then Miller says, yep, that's right. Need to find out what's going on. Give me a ride.
I want to find out who killed the creators of this.
The civilization that built the rings is gone. Wiped out. What could have killed them?
That's what I'd like to know. Gonna need a ride.
Is that Miller speaking? Is that Miller? Is that what he wants? Is that because what's
the investigator?
Yeah, but the question has been: is the investigator Miller in any sense, or is it something else? Is it the?
I think it's
the
a
alien?
mix. I think it's definitely influenced by Miller as the choice.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there is an influence there. But I think the nature of the investigator part is also important.
Yeah, I am under the belief, because I never trusted the investigator.
No.
He did, like I went through, there was just certain telltale signs that there was a manipulation there. And here it is being confirmed as a manipulation.
It's also like we know the world of the Expanse to not have selfless people in it. We have Chicken Man. That's what we get.
And here it is on a cosmic scale, because the proto-molecule, one of the things that we didn't really get to discuss too much was, in one of the last episodes, they said that the proto-molecule did all of this stuff and is trying to communicate back to its masters so that it can follow through on the stuff, but there is no one to talk back to. And the proto-molecule is itself, and the technology is adaptive. And so I believe that this is it adapting in a way to find out why its masters aren't here to talk to anymore and what to do now. I'm going to... I'm going to... Yeah, that's a great way. It's very Vija-like from the motion picture. I'm going to manipulate this James Holden with a figure that we've absorbed to make him and his dumb human race find out...
You're skipping ahead. Those are predictions. We haven't done our rating yet.
Oh, of course, but I just want to say, like, in terms of intention, like, because that's what we leave it in on, is like, what's the intention here? The intention in my eyes is, and yes, this is predictions, we're going to use the human race as tools to find out what the fuck happened to the people that we are serving, like the people that created us. You'll find out for us.
For and by these
creators. And they're no longer here, so here's the roadmap to everything that could be left of them, and you'll find it. Even if you're going to tear each other apart, because I don't care about that. I'm just a program. I don't have any agenda about your well-being. I just need you to do the thing. So do the fucking thing. Give me a ride.
You're useful.
And we end the episode on them going through the ring space and the energy going down Holden's face, and some other form of energy whooshes into Holden. And he's afraid of it.
Something...
Yeah.
In that field,
because he needs a ride, which is something he mentioned before, and we know that the blue goo is still on that ship too.
Yep.
And so something, whether it is this entity that Miller has beamed into Holden, something's gone into him or something's gone through him, and Holden seems shaken by it. Now, rating on our scale of Yum being bad and Yum being good, what do you give Abaddon's Gate?
Yum. It was a really solid episode that delivered and followed through. It kills a character that I irrationally despise. Though, like, you know, it's not a confirmed kill, so that is a bit disappointing. It clears the slate and sets up a new play that's really interesting. And when we were done with this episode, I was just like, I wonder how I would have felt if I had been watching it when it was coming out and I found out that it was cancelled after I watched this, and how frustrated I would be. Because, like, they've gotten to this point, and it's, like, it's a real tipping point for humanity. And I'm left blue-balled?
I was going to say, we no longer have to be concerned about it. We weren't there at the time, and the show is over as far as we know, with 6 seasons. But would this have been, I guess, satisfying or good enough of an endpoint if it did not continue? Or would this be one that would make you ever so mad if it did finish here?
I think I would have been frustrated, and I would have been reading the books.
That's a correct answer. I find that I'm on the side of it would have been frustrating, but it does have a very conclusive feel to it. Like, there's a lot of stuff.
It finishes the book.
Yeah,
it doesn't finish the show.
Yeah,
But it finishes the book. It finishes the series.
I need more Christian, not just her silently looking at a holographic.
We get her. We don't get her on a screen. We
That's
get her
true.
behind a kind of.
Sure. She got to relax in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
She got to relax all of this season. I really feel
like
they really
she's
eased up. But
succeeded.
let's save that for next time. I'm gonna give this a yum yum.
Yum yum.
It just spins all of the plates really well. Like I said, there are some things that bother me. There are some
It's not perfect.
flourishes for the dramatic effect and flourishes needed to speed through things.
Shortcuts,
and
a
some
little bit of, very tropey choices
and
for
again,
sci-fi.
and fair to say, convenient. Melba gets shot. She seems relatively fine. Clarissa, I should say, gets shot. She seems relatively fine. Ashford gets slammed like a fucking brick against a window, and he's fine. The window's fine. Like nothing mattered. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like what I'm saying, but
after he was like everything through my console.
Oh yeah, and then he went through the console. Yeah. It's like when Miller said, "Let's lay this all out on the table," and then Amos laid him out on the table, which is still broken to this day, and I love that detail. Who shut down the Rossi? No one was on it.
No, but I did question that, and I was just like, oh, maybe they shut everything down before they left.
Maybe
because like why leave it running? Because
I assume they have a fusion reactor.
We've continually seen them have difficulties with having resources.
Sure, I'll take that as the headcanon here.
It's on standby.
I know. Everyone, you're screaming at us.
They could have just sent somebody over.
Look, you're screaming at us with answers, but here's what I have to say. Make sure it doesn't spoil stuff. Make sure it doesn't go over the line. And if you feel the need to talk about spoilers of stuff, join our Patreon.
Say in the books.
Yes, say in the books. Join our Patreon. There's a group Discord and there's a thread there where you can spoil to your heart's content with your fellow Yumlings, and you guys can discuss the things that we've said here today and have a good chuckle. You support the podcast, you get these episodes early, and you get so much other stuff. We can be found on various social medias under yumyumpod or yumyumpodcast. We post stuff there regularly. We love chatting with people. It's a wonderful time. We're having a great old time. I love doing the social media post stuff, making fun little videos and silly, grabbing fun images from silly images from the episodes and just chatting away. And Rachel, if people want to chat with us a little bit more directly, what's a good method?
The good old email. Which you should direct at yumyumpod@gmail.com.
We, next time, will be doing a season 3 recap. We'll go over the high points, the low points, the other stuff. I think we'll mainly leave our predictions for things there, because it's very much how it goes. Like, we will talk about the season as a whole, but definitely the next, the season as a whole for season 3. We'll predict our stuff for season 4, and we'll talk about what we think the premiere of it will be.
Yeah, and we'll do the title.
Yeah, of course.
Thing then as well.
But of course, my big prediction is Havelock will return. He will be back, and he will bring the Gaunt Belter with him.
My prediction is there will be no Gaunt Belter.
No, don't say that.
He will no longer be gaunt.
He'll be a fat belter because he's eaten well. He's eating good, dare I say. He's got some good eating.
Eating that scenery up.
Oh, he's eating. I miss him. I miss that stuff.
Him.
Like, we have some fun belters, but I really miss those, like, really hammy actors.
Oh, yeah.
They've toned down the
spot actors.
Yeah, I mean,
that were belters were just delicious.
They were delicious, and their accents were so thick you could barely understand a word they said, but I missed that. But that is it. Thank you all so much for listening. It means very much to us.
Thank you.
Until next time, remember that the Gaunt Belter is still out there, and
no confirmed kill on him either.
There is no confirmed kill. He could step up and be the new Diogo, where he could be in charge, and instead of being a fuckhead, he's actually really good at it.
See you then. Well, voila.